I wanted to share the countertop process with you. And before I did that, I just wanted to explain the company that we used for these countertops. The company that we used is called Z Counterform. And the reason we chose them is because it's kind of like a one-stop shop for all your concrete countertop needs. You'll see all of the materials that we use, we got from them. Not to mention their website is so helpful. They have video tutorials on every little step, and they honestly couldn't have made this process any easier. So if you're interested in concrete countertops, I would definitely check them out. All right, so Noah has everything mapped out, so he is ready to start cutting. If you can even read what these measurements are, it's questionable. So cement board is in. Noah cut that with a grinder and then siliconed it down. He then cut out a hole for the faucet, and then we got this little mold that goes in where the faucet hole is, just so cement's not falling down there, and then our sink faucet will fit in there. And then he did add these little wood pieces all the way around, because the mold that we're putting on for the edges, it drops down 5/8, and if he would have done that, we would have been hitting the sink. So we want it to be like right above the sink, but not, in the sink. So that will make a little bit more sense when we put on the molds themselves, and that is the next step. Okay, so Z Counterform makes one of these, but we forgot to order it. So Noah built this himself. You can see he just kind of like rigged that up, and what it does is it fits right on the mold itself, so that when he goes to cut this, it does not crack the plastic. I'll show you how it works. All right, so it's cut. This side is mitered, and then that one is straight because it's just gonna go against the wall, and you see it just drops down just like that. So that is how much the countertops will overhang, which is perfect. And we just need to screw this into place then. Prepped and ready to go. So all of this mesh is locked down with these little clips that are screwed into place. Everything is duct tape, and then we also have some plastic, just because as we're smoothing this out, we're probably going to have some droplets. That way it's not getting on the floor or on the cabinet. So time to mix some concrete. Okay, so now that the countertops are poured, they have sat for a little bit over an hour, and you can see up close, they have these little bubbles, and then you can see over here, I just smoothed it out, so it just looks a little smoother. So I am using this plastic trough to do that, and you just have it at an angle. And all I'm doing is I'm trying to expose all these air bubbles so that they can release. And then I'll come back in a couple hours with a metal one and do this again to get a better finish. tops dried overnight. They are looking so good. I am headed into work, so I will show you what the next step is when I get back, but I'll explain it now. Okay, so they are completely dry, and there's some areas that are super smooth, and then there's a few areas that are a little bit rough. So the next step is going to be that we go through and we just sand this edge. We just want to make sure there's no cement on this edge. After we sand that edge, then we're just going to break this plastic piece off, which you can see is already starting to separate. So you just snap that off, and then we'll be able to see what the edges look like. It's most likely that there's going to be some bubbles in the edges, and that's fine because we're going to do a slurry coat on that, so we can correct anything. And then 5 days later, we will be able to sand and then seal this. Noah went to the eye doctor today. We're sanding the countertops, and what we're trying to do is just get any of this concrete off of this black little lip right here. So you'll see, like, I just sanded this, and we're going to keep sanding until it's completely exposed. Okay, so the next step is going to be to break off these edges. Noah just went in and scored this with his knife, so you can see it's kind of like pulling away. I'm going to let him break this, though, because he's a little stronger than me. Okay, so we're going through and we're breaking the edges. So when you do that, it snaps off, and then it also snaps off the underpiece. One thing we didn't think about is that around the sink, we would not be able to snap off that underpiece. So that little black piece of molding is still there. So we're trying to figure out how exactly we can get rid of that. Just put Reese down for the night, so we are gonna work on the countertop again. I mentioned it before, but to fill all these little holes, we're gonna do a slurry coat, which is really just a thin mixture that's like a watered down mixture of cement and water. And that will just fill all these little imperfections that we have, like here and here. So we're gonna just do that on any areas that need it, and then let it dry, and then we'll come back and sand it. I used gloves versus using a sponge because some of these holes are super, super small, and this slurry coat is really gritty. So you kind of have to like work it into the small holes, but overall it goes in pretty easily. It's okay if it's a little rough because you're going to end up sanding it down, and it dries really quick. I've been using a respirator with like every project we've been doing lately with being pregnant. When I painted the cabinets in the garage for the garage, and I just used a mask, it was like ridiculous how much paint I had up my nose. So I think now I'm just like, no, forget it. Oh, look, dorky. So I've done 3 coats of that sealant, and it just like absorbs into the cement before you put the actual seal on it, which is going to make this glossy. So this for tonight is done. I'm gonna go ahead and cover this because I'm gonna work on backsplash, and then when I'm done with backsplash, I'll put the final coat to seal it. So the countertops down here, honestly, you can see like they're shiny. They're not bad, but they do feel a little rough. Like they're not extremely smooth. So I'm gonna go in with some 400 grit sandpaper, lightly sand it, and put one more coat of sealer on here.